What's up, guys? Diesel Doug here. Gonna give you a quick update on where I'm at with 79 and what I got going on with the OBS. So the 79 is fully bolted together. I went and got a bolt kit from NPD for the whole front clip. So all the fenders are fully bolted up, radiator's all bolted up, grill's bolted on. You can see there I got my template for what I'm going to do for my front bumper. No one makes a good front bumper for a 79 in my opinion. I like the low profile bumpers, and a lot of those big off-road bumpers are just a little too gaudy for me, especially for the style I'm going on this truck. So decided to make my own, especially because this is a 79 body on a 2006 chassis. There really isn't anyone that would make a bumper that would just bolt on. So I'm like, if I got to get something I'm going to have to modify, I might as well just make it myself. So that's what I'm doing. Cardboard template for that. It's going to have holes in the corners for pods, and then a hole in the center section there for a 20-inch light bar. And it will sit up a little higher to cover that bolt. And then I'm going to have my buddy TIG weld these shut. Going to add some aluminum here to shut those up, because these usually wrap around the frame of a 79, and it doesn't work that way in this frame. So I'm going to go ahead and close those holes up. Another thing I had to do is I got my hood mount, hood latch all mounted up. Usually on the 79, there's the bracket that comes from here all the way down across the front and then bolts to the bottom of the radiator. AC condenser's in the way, so went ahead and chopped that off right at the bottom of that hood latch there. And I don't have these welded on yet, but just added some square tubing for bracing in here. Gonna get welded onto the 6.0 core support. I just have some spot welds in there. And it's actually tapped. I used 1/8-inch thick stuff, so it's tapped for a 1/4-20 bolt, and got one on both sides there. So this is good and strong, it ain't going nowhere. Radiator's all bolted on. You can see my mounts there. They go connect the 6.0 core support to the 79 core support. Got that on both sides here. And I got my fender liners all figured out. Actually, let me take some stuff out of here so you can see it better. So for my fender aprons, obviously the stock 79 ones weren't going to work, so what I did, MPD just started making these. They're actually a patch panel for the fender aprons, just this top section. I'll show you it stops over on this side. So that's all it is, it stops down there. So I bought these, had to go through and drill all the holes in it to go through the mounts there, and I have marked where I have to drill my holes for my hood springs, so I just haven't done it yet. But I went through and made these panels in here. Hard to get a video of it, but so cleaned everything up, gives me a spot to hide all my wiring underneath there. And so the battery will sit right here. I still have to make a hold down for it, and then my power steering reservoir will sit there, and that'll pretty much be all you'll see on this side. Did the same thing over here. Bought another one of the patch panels from NPD, and same thing, custom fitted a custom made fender apron there, so the battery will sit there, and then there'll be nothing sitting up here. You can see I had to trim it to fit around the AC stuff there. But it looks really clean, really cleans up the engine bay. Yeah, when you look down in here, you won't see all the wiring's gonna be tucked underneath there, so. Also, these are my front wheel liners. I don't have them in right now, but so this is like a second wheel liner technically, because I have the inner wheel apron, and then I'm gonna have this wheel liner, and those will tuck up in here. They're gonna sit on the lip of the fender, go in here, close everything off in here, and they come down to the back, close off the frame, and that's where all this wiring is gonna be tucked up in here. It's all gonna be mounted up in here nice. And same thing for the driver's side. Wheel liner will go in there in the wheel well, and I'll have all the computers and everything bolted up on top of that apron. All the wiring will be nice and mounted up there, so all that wiring will be hidden, and it'll be protected from water and dirt and stuff. So keep the engine bay looking really clean, because I'll be able to hide them between the fender aprons and the fender liners. So that's what I was going for. I didn't want this thing to look like it was all hacked together. I wanted it to be a clean engine bay. Originally I didn't even plan on leaving the batteries in here, but I ended up with enough room, I figured might as well. Yeah, so what I plan on doing for these, basically they're fully welded right now. I'm gonna put riv nuts along between that edge line there. That's where they're gonna bolt into the fender, that lip to hold them in place. And then I'm gonna send these to get, I'm either gonna send them out to get line action, or I'm gonna end up Raptor lining them myself or something to help avoid with like rock chips and stuff. And I'm hoping that doing that will also help with sound. It had some sound ending between the tires and the cab. So yeah, but those were a nightmare to make. Pain in the butt. The body mounts were easier to make than those things. But yeah, really buttoning up all the small things in this front clip to make it a clean and solid front clip, you know, solid build without looking all hacked up was the hardest part of this whole build so far. Making all the custom fender aprons and fender liners and all the brackets for the hood latch and all the core sport brackets, and pretty much every piece that goes onto the front clip has had something fabricated on it. So there's a lot of work that went into getting this to sit the way it does. And the other good news for this thing, I did find a local painter. So we actually just ordered the sample paint last week. He's gonna go ahead and spray a sample of it real quick so I can make sure I like the color, see it in the light and stuff, make sure it's exactly what I want for this thing. But it's gonna be a dark blue, really dark blue. It's actually a Porsche color, so that's gonna really pop on here. Yeah, I was originally gonna do antimatter blue on this thing. I really like that color, but I only like it at certain times of the day. Like in the evening when the sun's hitting it from the side, it's perfect, but most of the time that color just looks black to me. So wasn't quite as blue or as bright as I wanted it to be. So that's what made me switch over to this Porsche color. Hopefully we get that sample in, hopefully this week or next week, and you can spray it and I can check it out, make sure it's what I want, and go ahead and get it ordered and get started on sending panels over to him to get bodywork and paint done. So I did have the guy that's painting it come over and actually look at the truck. I know I talked about the damage here before from the truck getting hit in the front and stuff. He thinks he'll be able to fix all this without me having to cut this out and replace it, because there's usually an air box down here that I have removed. So he'll be able to get up under here, you know, kind of beat this back into place, help do some pulling and stuff to get this fixed. But just in case, I did have a cutoff of an extra cab my buddy gave me. It's basically just like, you know, from here forward, cut off of another cab he had that he used the floor out of. So he gave me that. I went through and undid all the spot welds along the windshield. There's a lot of spot welds in that thing. It was not a good time, but this is my backup plan in case he's not able to fix it. I'll be able to go through and do the same thing to my white cab, take all the spot welds off, go through, replace that piece. I also have all the supports that go underneath here to connect it to the cab and everything. So this is my backup plan in case he's not able to fix it. I'll just go through and replace all that steel. I'll probably go up to this point here in the middle of the cab. That'll give me a good spot to cut and weld down. And it'll obviously cover all the damage, because really the damage stops like right here. So I'll be all the way in the middle there if I do end up replacing all this, but hopefully I don't have to. I'm really hoping he's right and he's able to fix that. That'll save me a lot of time, but like I said, that's my backup plan. Also, I picked up a rust-free hood for this thing. I actually got this thing for free on Marketplace. Some dude like 15 minutes away from me listed it, and as soon as I got home from work, so I messaged him right away, and he's like, yeah, come get it, it's yours, you can have it. So that worked out perfect. I had a hood for it, but there was a little bit of rust on that front lip right there. So that worked out good. I'll end up selling that other hood or using it as a decoration or something. So nice rust-free hood, just got the surface rust obviously, but no rot. Also, plans have changed a little bit for this truck. I'm not doing the air ride on it anymore just because steel prices are insane right now, and even if I did everything myself, you know, did a fully fabricated 4-link with the axle trusses and cradle and everything, with the air management system, and not even including powder coat, I'd have about 10 grand into doing the air ride myself. So I decided I'd rather put extra money towards having a really nice paint job, and I'm still gonna do, I'm gonna 4-link the front. Probably right now this is a 6-inch lift, so I'm probably gonna go up to a 7.5, dual rate Icon coils, 4-link the front, all Fox shocks all the way around, and do traction bars in the back. And I think I'm just gonna stick with that for now, just because I don't see the air ride adding as much value to the truck as a really nice paint job, you know. So I'd rather have a really nice paint job and still have it on a nice 4-linked coil suspension versus having a not so great paint job and having an air ride. So that's where I'm going with this. It's gonna look really good. Like I said, I'm gonna raise it up a couple more inches. These are 38s by like 14 and a half right now. I plan on going up to a 40 by 15 and a half. So, yeah, but getting pretty close on this one. It's gonna be getting torn apart pretty soon. Hopefully next month to start sending panels to the guy to do the bodywork and paint. I think I'm gonna end up doing a custom rear bumper because I'm doing a custom front bumper, so why not? So the other thing that's changing, since I'm not doing air ride, originally I was gonna put my tanks and compressors inside this compartment here, but now I think I'm gonna do mount a nitrous bottle in there. I don't know if I really use it on the motor too much, but I'll hook it all up. Probably gonna do like a 50 or 100 shot of nitrous to this thing and put some purge valves at the top, just more for show, because I got the compartment, I got to put something in there, might as well put nitrous. It'll look cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the update on the 79. It's getting real close. Like I said, gonna be getting torn back down real soon and going off to paint and sending the frame off to be sandblasted and everything. So my goal is by New Year to have chassis painted, all the suspension made for it, and hopefully have the engine powder coated and reback assembled and put back in the frame. So like I said, by spring I want to have this thing all finished up. So on a time crunch. Also, I just remembered that these weren't on here last time I did a video. I got my LED Recon Super Duty cab lights all mounted up and wired in. These are white LEDs. Smoked housings, so all my side markers, black, white LEDs. Same with the ones back here on the bed. And tail lights, I also have blacked out LEDs. I just don't have them in right now. And same thing for the front marker lights. These ones down here, I have smoked out white LEDs. So everything's gonna be smoked out and white LEDs. You know, obviously the taillights will be red, but yep, so that's the plan there. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at with the 79. Everything's fully mounted up. The truck runs and drives. The only thing it doesn't have is shocks. So I mean, I haven't really driven down the road because it's too bouncy, but driving around here, it does fine. The only issue I'm having, everything works except for the rear speed sensor. I don't know why. I put a brand new speed sensor in it. I checked all my grounds. The only thing I can think of is that this is a 2008 axle and it has a 2003 speed sensor in it because the pigtail is different for the 2008 speed sensor. So I might end up having to change the pigtail and the wiring harness and go back to the 08 sensor. Yeah, I don't get any reading for mile per hour on the dash, and I checked with my CTS3 and it just says 0 mile an hour. So for some reason I'm not getting a reading from the rear speed sensor, but other than that, right now is basically a fully functioning truck. So now to the OBS. I got a mess going on over here, but that's because I'm currently working on this one. Took all the suspension back off that I had made for it, the coil buckets, 4-link bars, 4-link brackets and everything. Took all that off, powder coated most of it. Yeah, powder coated most of it. I didn't do, I just got it right here. I didn't do the 4-link bars yet because I wasn't sure on a color yet, but I have it figured out now. So there's my 4-link brackets all powder coated, buckets all powder coated, and these are just little emblem holders that go above the coil. So those will have DTF logos on them. I just picked out my color for my overlays and 4-link bars. I just did this for a customer. It's a custom hood stack, all laser cut and powder coated. So this is Illusion Blueberry. So I'm gonna end up doing Illusion Blueberry for the coils, DTF logos, and the 4-link bars. Because I'm not painting this truck right away, so it'll look good with the white. And so when I do paint it, originally I was planning on doing black, which I was like, oh, that Illusion Blueberry look really good with the black. But since I didn't end up liking the antimatter blue for the 79 because I wanted it to be blue, and since I'm heading towards doing black, I'm gonna end up doing antimatter blue on this one because it'll look black most of the time. It'll occasionally look blue, and this color powder coat will really pop with that antimatter blue. So that's my plan for this thing now. I'm working on putting the power steering and everything in right now. I'm gonna put all the suspension back on it. And I think for now, because I'm working on the 79 and winter's coming up, I think I'm just gonna put this thing back together, So it runs and drives, and store it down at my dad's for the winter, and probably do the 6-7 swap in the spring. That's the plan. We'll see how that goes. I just don't know how much room I'll have here in the garage, because during the winter we park our cars inside, especially with my wife having the baby and stuff. I want to make sure her cars, this is heated all year round during the winter, so with the baby and stuff, I want to make sure her car's inside so she don't have to deal with snow, and she's got a nice warm car to put the baby in and stuff. So that's, you know, that's priority over the trucks. So the 6-7 swap might be a spring thing, but at least I'll have all the suspension and everything lined up. It'll be a running driving truck. I can still move it around, and but yep, so that's where I'm at with this truck right now. Yep, so I got my track bar mount. I welded it up. I'm about to weld it up to the frame. I did learn one thing. This was new to me. I've done quite a few axle swaps, but I never tried doing it with a 2011 gearbox. It's going to be about impossible to get a video of it in there. But I do have the 2011 F250 gearbox in here. Sadly, it doesn't fit. It's real close. I already drilled out the holes in the frame to fit the bigger Super Duty box, but these are shaped significantly different than the older like 6.4 and 6.0 body style gearboxes. So right now it's hitting the cross member for the engine cradle. I probably could notch it to get it to work, but then my other issue is that the steering shaft doesn't fit. The OBS one is splined. This one is like has 3 flats on it, and it's quite a bigger diameter. So I'm going to get a 6.0 gearbox, put that in here. It'll still work with all my hydro boosts. It still has the same turning radius. It's still a very similar box, but it fits in this application a lot better. So not going with the 2011 gearbox. The other concern I had with it being so big was that when I went to go put the 6.7 in here, that it would actually be in my way. Let me see if I can get a shot from the top here. Yes, you can see it fills a lot of that gap down here. Even with that 351 in here, it's pretty tight between the frame rail and the 351. And it's actually right up against that radiator hose too. It's a pretty big gearbox. So that was a lesson learned. Little tip for you guys if you ever go to do this. Get a 6.0 or 6.4 gearbox. And don't get an F450 one too, because I've learned that the hard way too. Those things are massive and do not fit at all. So, yep. That's where I'm at with this thing. Gonna put all my suspension back on, get my steering finished up, track bar on, get this thing so it runs and drives by itself. Gotta hook up the brakes, and that'll probably be what I do to this thing for the year. Like I said, it's probably going to get stored in my dad's barn, so we have room in here to park during the winter, and I'll just be working on this thing. So this is the main priority. Got to get this thing wrapped up before spring, before our shows start up again. So I know a lot of people have been messaging me on Instagram and stuff. They're dying to see this thing. So first show it'll probably be at will probably be UCC. So look for it there.
Come on, dog. I know you want some.